Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Horse's Mouth Live. As always, I have information to help you in every area of your life, especially your business. And today we have such a fascinating conversation. I love talking about people's money beliefs, their stories, how this impacts every part of their lives. And we have a very special guest, our viewers who are in financial services. Bill Cates is no stranger to them. You've probably seen him at meetings or multiple meetings or learned from him on the power of referrals and many other things. And today we're going to have a slightly different conversation, but so impactful. So let me give you a little bit about Bill's formal background. Um, he, I, I met Bill even before I actually met him, being part of National Speakers Association, because he's a superstar there. He's a CSP and a CPAE, a successful entrepreneur, Hall of Fame speaker, like he's got it all. What I didn't realize, he also built and sold two different book publishing companies. He's been working with financial advisors for more than 30 years, knows this industry backwards and forwards, and is now taking some of his focus in a different way. And we're going to talk today about our money stories, but with the context of his latest book, Hidden Heist, which is a beautiful allegory. And I just absolutely adored this book. Some of you saw me give a video on LinkedIn for Bill because it's such a fabulous book. So we'll talk about that today. And in addition to continuing to support financial advisors, he's on a mission to equip people with the mindset and the tools to have an even better relationship with money to achieve financial stability, independence, and lasting wealth. So, Bill, thank you for coming back to Horse's Mouth Live. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to spend time with you.
Thank you, Ellen. I know this topic around money mindset, money story is right up your alley, and I think it's an important one for the advisors, sometimes neglected a little, and we'll get into that.
For sure. So I'm curious, like you've been so deeply serving the financial services market and advisors and growing their practices. I think you said you've helped thousands of advisors grow billions of dollars in their business. So incredible. Give us a little bit about why you decided to write this book and for this market that's a little bit different than where your focus had been in the past.
Yeah, I wrote The Hidden Heist as kind of a legacy project, if you will. I've learned how important proper financial planning is. I've learned how money works, just like everyone else in this industry has learned that to some degree or another. And my mission is, or what my belief is that drives the mission, is that everyone deserves to make educated financial decisions that are in their best interest. Now, when I'm working with advisors, I say everyone deserves to make educated financial decisions that are in their best interest that they wouldn't make without you. That's financial leadership. That's the role that financial advisors have, is to cut through the mistaken beliefs and unhelpful actions and all the things that our clients bring to us around this. And so I wanted to take the message just a little more direct to the consumer, if you will. It's not to replace the role of advisors. It's The Hidden Heist is a glimpse into mindset. It's a glimpse into some of the basics that people need to be doing. And we're huge advocates in the book directly for people finding a financial professional to work with to make sure that they get the guidance and they make the right decisions to take them where they want to go. So it's to serve the end user and to serve the industry at the same time.
I'm curious as an author,
Mhm.
why you decided to make this more of a, do you call it an allegory? Is that what you call it?
Parable.
Parable. Why
Yeah.
you decided to do that versus more of a, this is how you do it book?
Yeah, and by the way, not to be confused with a fable. I have a friend who wrote a parable book, but he didn't know the difference between a parable and a fable, and he's marketing it as a fable. Fables use animals, parables use people. It's just a little. Now you've learned something for the day.
I was
Anyway,
just thinking that.
well, because sometimes the best way to learn, as we know, is with stories. I mean, when I coach advisors, one of the things we work on are some of the stories, the little stories, the anecdotes, the examples, the case studies, because people learn, it brings things to life in a different way. And there's enough books out there about straightaway thinking around personal finance. Uh, some of the people listening have probably written a book like that, and it's good and it's valuable. But I wanted to come at this in a way that people could kind of see themselves in the teachings, and people can see themselves in the stories. And so all the characters in the Hidden Heist are based on real people. It takes place in a bank robbery, hence money. And we interviewed two bank robbery victims. We interviewed a hostage negotiator who works for the police to figure out what would they really do in a bank robbery. Would they cut off the water, the electricity, the lights, the this, the phones, right? I've done over 100 money story interviews. I know you've done a lot of those as well. And so some of the mistaken beliefs, the limiting beliefs that people bring around money are shared through the characters in the book. And so we have this story. Now, I was concerned that people would get so enamored by the story, and my co-author Jeff C. West just did an incredible job weaving the things I wanted to teach into a story, a narrative with twists and turns, that some people might miss the lessons. So we have a couple of simple appendices at the end and say, all right, if you missed what we were teaching, here's what we were teaching. And so advisors are starting to use this book as a way to get into conversation with their clients and even their team members, their staff, around money story and money beliefs and how that sometimes leads to unproductive behaviors and decisions. And in a soft way, it's not like here's a book about money. Here's a story. Here's an interesting story. I think you or your adult children will find helpful. And then it opens up the conversation around mindset. Uh, so I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to double click on that a bit. Like
Please.
you were kind of saying, well, it can impact. I think it is the fundamental impact in terms of how people make decisions. But they believe what they say, what they think about money. So when you talk about money stories, you did these 100+ interviews. What do you mean by a money story, Bill?
Yeah. So essentially, it's their self-talk. It's a relationship to money. You know, what are they thinking consciously, sometimes unconsciously around money? So, for instance, the big one that I think we're actually born into as humans is a scarcity mindset. I've talked to a lot of neuroscientists, and they say as humans, we're kind of brought in the world with a little bit of scarcity mindset because that helps us survive. The challenge is, since money is not really a scarce resource, I mean, it may feel scarce in your pocket, in your wallet, in your bank account at the moment. We know that money flows. And in fact, take the word currency. The root of the word currency is current. It's Old English for flow like a river. And so, but if you're born in with a scarcity mindset and society just piles on around this, and your parents say, "What do you think I am, made of money?" Or, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that. So it's all drilled into us when we're young, and so we're carrying that scarcity thinking with us. It's hard to break free and to get into the flow. I just did a TED talk and I made a little joke. I was talking about these beliefs in my TED talk, and I say one way to think about money, and I said, money is an abundant resource that flows like a river, and I'm jumping into the currency. Bada boom. And so, um, that's the fundamental one. There's others, right? Like the stereotypes, for instance. One of the money story interviews I did with a guy named Michael, and his parents, and mostly his father, resented and held very negative feelings towards people with a lot of money, wealthy individuals. They were greedy, they cheated, they lied, they were selfish, yada yada yada. Now, Jeff C. West, my co-author, had a great line in the book, by the way. We went into stereotypes around wealthy, and we went into stereotypes a little bit around the poorer individual. People don't have the money. And his line is, some people are, most people aren't. So whenever you get into a gross generalization about folk, yeah, some people are. There's some truth to the stereotype, but most people aren't, right? So anyway, back to Michael. So he grew up with that, and he started a business, but he had this belief that he didn't even realize for a while that that wealthy people are evil and resentment, and you can't become what you resent. And he became aware of that, lucky for him, and he worked on that and broke through that. Advisors have this stuff. You and I have this stuff. I had a scarcity mindset forever. I had a fear of never having enough. Our advisors, your team members, your support members have this stuff, these limiting beliefs, mistaken assumptions around value and money that could be holding you back from the success you want. And then, of course, ultimately, your clients bring this to the table as well. So the more awareness we can shed on this, and the more empathy we can bring to the conversation, really, the better the relationships we're going to have, the better we can serve our clients, and the more successful our own business will be when we become aware of these things.
I appreciate that so much, Bill, and that idea of being aware, because quite often it's playing in the background. And
Right.
until we take a belief out, we can look at it and go, that doesn't make any sense. Or, like in your example of wealthy people are evil, some are, most aren't. And you could make a list and go, okay, that belief doesn't even make sense. Um, let's talk a little bit more about scarcity thinking because it's so pervasive.
It is.
And it shows up in other areas in it besides just in money. So I'm thinking about how aggressive competition is a scarcity thing. Like you're at a conference and you won't share your best idea because you're so afraid someone's going to take it and you're not going to get that client.
Right.
It could show up in us not feeling good enough, like personal lack.
Yes.
And so I'm curious about other ways you've seen this show up, and also talking about how to shift those once people are aware.
Yes. It shows up in envy. It shows up in judging ourselves or comparing ourselves to others, particularly when we then put a negative judgment on ourselves. Um, all of that has to do with scarcity. And you're right, it really does boil down to a fundamental belief that we are enough as we are. So let me give you an example from my own life. Um, the story that I got from my parents, who grew up in the Great Depression, was money is something to be guarded, not to grow, right? We guard money, we don't grow money. So that was one lesson that I got. And I internalized that. And I had a deep fear of never having enough money, but I masked it. I told myself I had an abundance mentality. I was in money denial, and gosh, advisors listening to this can relate to that. Either yourselves, some advisors are in money denial, and a lot of clients are in money denial, right? They don't want to look at it. They don't want to examine the reality, and so that was happening for me. And so what happened is that turned into anxiety, right? The money denial and these scarcity beliefs turned into anxiety, and I started to equate my self worth with my net worth. And I started making decisions designed to show others that I was successful. Now, who in this call can't relate to that? Making certain decisions designed to prove to others that you're successful. Well, guess what? That comes from I'm a not enough message, right? And look, there's nothing wrong with having nice things. It just depends on where it's coming from, right? And so just be willing to be a little more self reflective and aware of that. And I made that big mistake. And the truth was, I was afraid of not having enough because deep down somewhere, I believed I wasn't enough. Now, how did I get to this point? I got to this point by learning how money works and realizing the mistakes I was making. And then I go, oh, I was taught this, or I thought this. And so it takes a little courage for everybody, people listening, and then for your clients to to be willing to be self-reflective and to think, oh, maybe I was telling myself a story that was fiction, and change isn't easy. But ultimately, I'll give you one more quick example, very quick. So for my podcast, Top Advisor Podcast, I interviewed a gal named Tammy Lally. She has a TED Talk that has 2.3 million views on money shame. I didn't even know that people had that. But it's not just people with a little money or a lot. Money shame knows no economic boundary, right? And so, people are bringing that stuff to you, advisors, right? They're bringing these feelings, these emotions, and you wonder why they make weird decisions, and you wonder why they want to go to the cash when they shouldn't, and you wonder all this stuff. Well, when you get to know their story and what they learned when they were younger, not to do therapy, just to understand them and help them understand themselves, man, you can serve them on such a more profound level that goes beyond just the numbers and the mechanical work that you do, which is also important. So anyway, you can develop such a much deeper relationship with folks. And a lot of people are craving that. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are craving that. They want to be known better. They want you as an advisor to know them better and deeper. And then you serve them better.
And what I'm hearing you also say is by having these conversations or starting the conversations with just handing them Hidden Heist, you're making it okay for them to be like this. So they're not having embarrassment or shame around, like, I should be better. I'm so smart in other areas of my life. And why do I feel like such a mess? Or why do I do stupid things? We all do. And what I'm also really appreciating, and I haven't thought about before, because I work with advisors in their money mindsets about how to use that to significantly grow their business,
Hmm.
but to think about how their team impacts that. And it makes so much sense. I remember when I was interviewing people when I had my practice, that I was listening to that because I didn't want to have someone with really awful, that's judgy, with with big scarcity views on money, because I don't want them to be freaking my clients out.
Right.
And to work with your team and having open conversations, like, what is it that you heard and saw growing up? And it's really an onion to peel. I've been looking at my money personality for more than 30 years, and I was at a Kabbalah workshop yesterday and
Mm.
came up with another money belief that was, I was like, oh my God. And it was that wealthy people keep themselves separate from other people.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, I could have proof for that, but that is not helpful. And I can think of lots of wealthy people who don't do that. And yeah, maybe Taylor Swift has to, but most people don't. So there's these things that are back there that we don't even realize till we start this exploration. I think it's so incredibly
And
helpful.
a couple things on that. In our book, The Hidden Heist, my co-author came up with this great line. It's like, some people are, most people aren't. Some people do, most people don't. It's, there's a nugget of truth, but it's not always not. You got to be careful about those generalizations. But what happens is, if you're believing the stereotype, then that's holding you back. If you think the stereotype is true, then that could be holding you back. Um, so the truth is, a lot of wealthy people are very approachable. They're very giving. They're philanthropic. There's all kinds of great stuff there, right? So it's another thing too is for advisors, to become aware. So for instance, let's say the market has a huge drop, and the positions you had your clients in didn't do very well, right? How are you internalizing that? Or you get into a bear market now all of a sudden, right? And things are not going well. How are you carrying that to your staff? How are you communicating that to your team? Let's say if your business top line is good, but your bottom line isn't good, how are you wearing that around your team? What kind of pressure, unaware pressure you might be putting on people, all coming from your own scarcity mindset. So that's a kind of a deeper level of thinking and feeling that a lot of advisors don't usually take the time to reflect on. Um, and yeah, you're smart. You know how money works. You know a lot of the stuff we're talking about. You get it intellectually, but have you taken the time to examine it yourself and examine it with your team and then examine it with your clients? And so we wrote The Hidden Heist as a starting point. Again, not to replace advisors. We encourage people to use advisors, but it's just a starting point to get into the conversation for oneself and or people around them. I've got people buying books to give to their adult children. My personal trainer just had me sign 3 books. I would have given them to him, but he bought them. Thank you. But I signed them because he's going to give them as Christmas presents to his adult children to make sure they get the right money mindset and some of the basics while they still have time to do something about it and take advantage of compounding and all the great tools.
Yeah. And I would just say that having time might be a scarcity thought. Like maybe we all have enough time.
Well, yeah, that's a big. That's a whole other one. We could write a whole book on time scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Money scarcity and time scarcity. It all comes from the same stuff, the same core
Yes.
inside of us. But yeah, it shows up in a lot of ways.
So, Bill, how do you recommend that people start to unravel or explore what their money stories are, or what their mindset is around money?
Yeah, so I mean, naturally, I mean, the promotional part of me is going to say, well, get the hidden heist and just read the story and become more aware of your own story, and that's the starting point. Um, there's other ways. I mean, for myself, I learned how money worked, and when I learned how money worked, then I started becoming aware of my story, and then I started working on fixing it. I've some people go into, there are money therapists in this world, and advisors probably should know a good money therapist um, because there's places you don't want to go with your clients where it's probably not appropriate for you to go. And there's a difference between being an advisor and being a coach and being a therapist. And so to have a relationship with someone who could go deeper with certain clients who may need that, they may have a lot of bruising and scars from past relationships that are coloring their perception around money, and it's making it difficult for you as an advisor to help them reach their goals, and that's where someone else could come into play. So I mentioned Tammy Lally. She's kind of an advisor money coach. I referred a friend of mine to her, and my friend, just like, it was like a transformation after working with Tammy for about 3 or 4 months. All of a sudden she started charging more money for her services. She started making decisions, willing to take a little more risk, but calculated appropriate risk, just because it opened up her mindset away from money shame and away from money limitations to abundance and opportunity. So sometimes, form a relationship with someone else who can help you and help your clients with that. The book's a great start, and it's just the start.
Beautiful. What would you like people to, if there's one big idea from the book, what would you like them to walk away with?
Yeah, I guess a couple of one big
It can
idea.
be more than one.
All right. Well, first of all, it's obviously just to self-talk and become aware of that. I think we've made that point, and to be open to it and learn from it and to start to take new actions based on it. I think the other thing is financial literacy, is getting people taught the right things early in their lives. I mean, we wrote the book can help anyone, and we know that the main audience for the book and my TED talk is going to be millennials and maybe older Gen Zs, where they still have time to do something. Right? No one taught me about compounded interest. And on my TED talk, I bring a briefcase full of $1 million out, and I talk about how to get to $1 million through compounding, and here's what $1 million looks like. And we have a little fun with it. But man, I think every financial advisor should be in the business of financial literacy and education, and could be with your clients. And here's a big one: teaching your clients what you're doing, what they're doing, what you're doing with them, and why you are doing this. The why is very important. What does every financial advisory client want? They want clarity, they want confidence, and they want peace of mind. And when you give them the why behind what you're doing, you're closing the gaps in clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. And you're also, by the way, equipping them with the tools to talk about you to others. Because they not only know what they're doing, they know why they're doing. And so their ability to talk about you to others, that's all my referral stuff I've been teaching for years, comes into play. And then bringing that to the next generation. It's so important. Whether you're working on generational wealth and whether you care about inheriting those clients or not, there's mixed feelings in the industry around that. I get that. Clients will love you when you help their children have a better money mindset and better money tools in front of them and awareness and how things work. They will love you for that. And that helps you become more referable or more remarkable, worthy of remark. So the whole financial literacy, financial education, I think should be a huge part of what advisors bring to the table.
Great. And one more ripple from that is the millennials, their kids, they're going to start early, which is a beautiful place to start
Yes.
teaching their kids about money because we develop those attitudes and beliefs from conception through
Yeah,
age 7. A lot of them are formed. So
they are.
better conscious money parents are going to they're going to have more conscious kids too. So it's a beautiful, beautiful way to make a difference. I hope you'll all run out and wherever you buy your books, I'm wanting to make this so you can see, get Hidden Heist. There's Bill. Well, I'll show our books. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming back on, sharing this with the audience here and really doing the work that you're doing in the world, Bill. I'm really grateful to know you and to have you share this information with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for helping me fulfill my mission of financial education and growing this incredible industry of ours that we're in. It's an incredible responsibility. We are literally changing people's lives from generation to generation. It's an awesome responsibility that we need to take seriously. So thank you for that.
So any of you out there, go ahead and go to thehiddenheist.com to connect with Bill, learn more about the book. He's on LinkedIn. You'll find him all over the place. But I really encourage you and think about for the advisors out there to go ahead and get this book for your clients. And for everyone else out there, go ahead and get the book for you and your family. I think it's terrific.
Thank you.
And my name is Ellen Rogin. You can find out more about me at ellenrogin.com. And if you would like to download a special report that is really in line with this, it's about how to have better money talks with your clients. And you can go to ellenrogin.com/horse's mouth for advisors to download that special report about how to have bigger, better money conversations with the people that you meet. So thank you for watching and listening. And as always, remember to create